Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive. And this one is really for you guys because this is a topic that you all have been requesting
Hmm.
for ages now, charisma.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be focusing on charisma, how to build it, and the kind of psychology behind it.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting topic, because it kind of combines really practical communication skills, but then
Yeah.
also some quite deep insights into psychology and neuroscience as well.
Exactly. And we've got some pretty meaty source material for you.
Yeah, we do.
We've got excerpts from various chapters of a book on charisma.
Oh,
And this
nice.
isn't just kind of surface level self-help stuff either.
Yeah.
This really digs into the science behind how we can project confidence
Mm.
and how we can train ourselves to be more charismatic.
Absolutely. And I think it all starts with understanding the power of first impressions.
Yeah.
You know, those thin sliced judgments that people make about us
Yeah.
in seconds? They're surprisingly enduring.
Yeah, it's like those first few seconds kind of set the stage for the whole relationship.
They do.
The book actually has this anecdote about an accounting firm's rising stars who were really talented, but they ended up being kind of disliked because they were always the bearers of bad news,
Oh, interesting.
like finding mistakes and delivering criticism.
It really illustrates how those initial associations, even if they're not about our personality, they can stick and impact how people perceive us.
Yeah.
And I think it just underscores the importance of positive associations when it comes to building charisma.
Yeah, so even if you're super brilliant, if your first encounter with someone involves some kind of negative situation,
Yeah,
you're already facing an uphill battle to be seen as charismatic.
absolutely.
So it makes you think about how you make those first interactions count.
For sure. But it's not just about first impressions, it's also about what you do after that. And a big part of that is nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it and
No,
how you show it.
actions speak louder than words, as they say.
Absolutely. Nonverbal cues are incredibly powerful. They speak directly to the emotional mind, and they often outweigh words, especially in these high-stakes situations.
Right.
The book uses this really interesting example of negative performance reviews being better received when they're delivered with positive body language.
That's fascinating. So even if you're giving someone tough news,
Yeah.
your body language can soften the blow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It reminds me of this time when, well, I didn't believe a word this person was saying because their facial expressions and their tone
Yeah.
totally contradicted their words.
Yeah, exactly. So nonverbal communication can completely change how a message is received.
Right.
And this leads us to this concept of emotional contagion and the role of mirror neurons.
Oh, I've heard about mirror neurons, but could you remind me how they work?
Yeah, so mirror neurons fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing that same action.
Okay.
And they're believed to be the neurological basis for empathy.
Right.
And they play a crucial role in our ability to understand and share the emotions of others.
So if someone is radiating confidence and positive energy,
Yeah.
their mirror neurons are sending those signals to my brain,
Mm,
and I'm more likely to pick up on those emotions and feel them myself.
exactly.
Okay.
And this ties directly into the power of mirroring. So by consciously mirroring someone's body language,
Yeah.
we can build rapport and connection.
The book mentions this story about a guy called Darius who was meeting with this notoriously difficult executive.
Uh,
He intentionally mirrored the executive's body language,
okay.
and it completely shifted the dynamic, even though he had initially made a little bit of a bad first impression.
It shows that mirroring can be a powerful tool to overcome maybe a shaky start and build a connection.
Yeah.
And we can all practice this, maybe start with people that we feel comfortable with.
It's kind of like subtly saying, I'm on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
So if we want to be more charismatic, we should be mindful of both our own body language, but then also how we're mirroring others.
Exactly. Now let's dive into how we can project both warmth and power through body language, because these are two essential components of charisma.
Okay, because I guess being charismatic isn't about being like dominant.
No,
It's about making people feel at ease, but then also like you command respect.
exactly. You got it.
Right.
And these qualities can be communicated through specific nonverbal cues.
Right.
So for warmth, think about respecting personal space.
Yeah.
The book mentions this experiment where the author deliberately tried to override their natural instincts about personal space on a crowded subway car.
Oh, God. That was so uncomfortable to even read about. It's
Yeah.
like we all have this kind of invisible bubble
Yeah.
of personal space, and when it's violated, it triggers this feeling of unease.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it really highlights how important personal space is in making people feel comfortable.
Okay.
Another key aspect of warmth is maintaining appropriate eye contact, but it's not about staring people down.
Right. There's a difference between kind of focused, intense eye contact and the kind that makes people feel at ease.
For sure.
Yeah.
The book cites research by Les Femi. He's a neuroscientist who studied eye tension.
Okay.
And he found that relaxed eyes convey warmth,
Right.
whereas focused eyes convey power.
So it's about being aware of these subtle signals our eyes are sending.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about projecting power? What are some techniques for that?
Well, one way is simply taking up space.
Okay.
The book tells this story about Ella. She's a student
Okay.
who was assigned to walk around campus
Uh-huh.
and purposefully get people to move out of her way.
Oh, wow.
So it's not about being aggressive,
Right.
but it's about owning your presence in a space.
Okay.
Another technique is what the author calls regal posture.
Okay.
So think about Steve Jobs during his presentations.
Yeah.
He was remarkably still.
Mm-hmm.
That stillness can actually convey a sense of power and control.
Yeah, I bet that takes practice, though, to be that
Being
still
present.
and present. So I guess think about what makes you feel more confident. Is it standing tall,
Yeah.
making direct eye contact?
Yeah.
We all have our kind of power poses.
We do.
It's about finding yours and practicing them.
For sure.
It's interesting to think about how these small adjustments in body language can have such a big impact
Yeah.
on how we're perceived. Now, the
Yeah.
book also mentions visualization as a technique for projecting confidence.
Visualization is a powerful tool for changing our internal states
Okay.
and even influencing our body language.
Right.
It works by creating mental images that trigger the subconscious mind
Mm-hmm.
to send signals throughout the body.
So if I imagine myself feeling confident and charismatic,
Yeah.
my brain starts to believe it,
Uh-huh.
and then my body language will reflect that.
Exactly.
Right.
And the book even suggests something called funeral visualization, which can be powerful,
Okay.
but it's a little intense.
Intense in what way?
It involves imagining your own funeral
Oh, wow.
and the people who would be there,
Right.
and it forces you to confront your own mortality and appreciate the present moment.
I can see how that would be very powerful.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's not for everyone.
Not for everyone, no.
Yeah.
It's important to find visualizations that resonate with you.
Right.
You know, perhaps think of figures who embody the traits that you admire.
Right.
Imagine stepping into their shoes, feeling their confidence, their warmth, their presence.
I love that. So, like, if I wanted to be a more compelling speaker,
Yeah.
I could visualize myself as someone like Michelle Obama or Oprah, commanding the stage with their words and presence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's a fascinating fact. Research has shown that even imagining playing the piano can change brain structure.
Wow.
It highlights the incredible plasticity of our brains and how we can literally rewire them through mental practice.
So our brains are constantly evolving.
They are.
And visualization is kind of like a mental workout for building charisma. But what about those internal obstacles that we all face? You know, the self-doubt, the inner critic that tells us we're not good enough.
That's a crucial part of this journey.
Yeah.
And the book offers a 3-step process for overcoming those internal hurdles.
Okay. I think we could all use that. Let's hear it.
So the first step is to destigmatize discomfort.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that uncomfortable emotions are normal, shared human experiences.
Yeah, I think sometimes we make ourselves feel worse for feeling bad.
Exactly.
It's like a double dose of negativity.
Absolutely. The book uses the example of shame, which is such a powerful but often unhelpful emotion.
Shame can be so crippling
Yeah.
if we let it take over.
And it often stems from this deep-seated fear of not belonging, of being rejected.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, from an evolutionary perspective.
Right. If you were ostracized from your tribe, you were pretty much doomed.
Exactly.
Right.
So first step, acknowledging those uncomfortable feelings without judgment.
Right.
Recognizing that they're part of being human. The second step is neutralizing negativity.
Okay.
This involves recognizing the negativity bias, which is our brain's tendency to focus on negative information more than positive.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
Yeah.
I can get 10 positive comments and that one negative one will stick with me all day.
The book gives this example of Mary. She's a graphic designer.
Okay.
And her client loved her work, but the client's boss wasn't initially impressed, and that's all Mary could focus on,
Oh, wow.
even though everything else was positive.
Yeah. It's like our brains are wired to scan for threats.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those threats are just perceived slights or criticism.
Absolutely.
Right.
So how do we neutralize this negativity?
Yeah.
The book suggests techniques like turning down the volume on that mental chatter or even rewriting reality.
Rewriting reality.
Yeah.
What does that involve?
So it's a powerful technique that involves consciously choosing to interpret situations in a more positive light. The author shares a personal anecdote about giving a presentation in Bogota. Leading up to the event, they were feeling really stressed and anxious because things weren't going perfectly.
Oh, I could relate to that. Pre-presentation jitters are the worst.
Yeah, but instead of letting those negative thoughts spiral, the author decided to rewrite reality. They imagined the presentation going brilliantly, the audience being engaged, everything running smoothly.
And it worked?
It did. The presentation was a success.
Wow.
By consciously choosing to focus on a positive outcome, the author was able to shift their internal state and ultimately perform better.
So it's like creating a self-fulfilling prophecy
Yeah.
by focusing on the positive.
Exactly. And the book argues that this isn't just about being optimistic. It's about recognizing that our perceptions of reality are often distorted by our own biases and anxieties.
So rewriting reality is a way to challenge those negative thought patterns and create a more empowering narrative.
Precisely. It's about taking control of our internal dialogue and choosing to focus on what we want to create rather than dwelling on what we fear might happen. And it leads to the third step, taking ownership of our reality.
Okay, break that down for me. What does taking ownership of reality look like?
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we interpret and respond to events. Even when things go wrong, we can choose to see it as a learning opportunity, a chance to grow, rather than a personal failure.
So it's about shifting our mindset from victim to victor, even in the face of adversity.
Exactly. The book encourages us to identify our own negative thought patterns and practice rewriting reality in challenging situations.
Yeah, because we often have more control over our thoughts and reactions than we realize. It's like taking back our power from that inner critic.
Exactly. And now that we've kind of addressed those internal obstacles, let's shift to crafting charismatic speech because being charismatic isn't just about how we stand or make eye contact, right?
Well,
It's
yeah.
also about the words we choose and how we deliver them.
Absolutely. What makes someone a charismatic speaker?
The book outlines some key principles for charismatic speaking, and they all tie back to creating positive associations. Think about Bill Clinton. He was a master of making people feel like they're the only person in the room.
I've heard that about him. Yeah, he could work a room.
It all comes down to projecting genuine interest in others. Imagine how you would behave if you were speaking to the most important person in the world.
Hmm.
You'd probably be fully present, engaged, truly interested in what they had to say.
It's such a simple but powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It's like instead of trying to impress people,
Yeah.
we should be trying to be impressed by them.
Exactly. Another principle the book emphasizes is speaking in pictures. Think about the power of visual language
Right.
and how it can make our communication more impactful and memorable. Remember how Steve Jobs launched the iPod Nano?
Oh, yeah?
He pulled it out of his jeans pocket and compared it to 8 quarters.
That's a classic example.
By using a visual, he made the message tangible and memorable. Our brains are wired for visual processing, so speaking in pictures can make our communication more engaging and persuasive.
So it's about painting a picture with our words, creating images that stick in people's minds.
Exactly. What else? The book stresses the importance of delivering high value in every interaction.
Because people's time and attention are valuable resources, right?
Absolutely.
So we need to make sure we're giving them something in return.
You nailed it. Whether it's entertainment information or simply making someone feel good, we need to be conscious of the value we're providing in our communication.
So it's not just about talking for the sake of talking.
No?
It's about making our words count and leaving people feeling like they gained something from the interaction.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a crucial and often overlooked aspect of charisma, the art of listening.
Being a good listener is just as important as being a good talker, wouldn't you say?
It's essential for projecting that focused charisma where you make someone feel like they're the center of your attention.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are the secrets to mastering the art of listening?
It all starts with being fully present and engaged in the conversation.
Yeah, that's easier said than done when our minds are racing with a million other things.
It is, but the book emphasizes the power of simply not interrupting.
Oh, I'm so guilty of interrupting sometimes. It's like my brain gets excited and just wants to jump in.
We all do it. But holding back and truly letting someone finish their thought can have a powerful impact.
Right.
It shows that you're truly listening and value what they have to say.
Okay, resisting that urge to interject, even if I think I know what they're going to say.
Exactly. And here's a counterintuitive suggestion. Let others interrupt you.
Wait, Isn't that the opposite of what we're talking about?
It might seem that way, but the book argues that allowing interruptions gracefully can actually make you more charismatic
How so?
because it shows that you're not threatened by someone else's input and that you're confident enough to let them have their say.
So it's about being flexible and not getting too attached to controlling the conversation.
Exactly. It's about making the other person feel heard and respected, even if they're interrupting.
That's an interesting perspective. It
Hmm.
reminds me of this time when I was in this meeting and this person kept interrupting me, and at first it was frustrating.
Yeah.
But then I realized they were just really eager to contribute. So I kind of took a breath, let them finish their thought, and it actually ended up leading to a much more productive discussion.
It's about finding that balance between, holding space for others, but then also asserting your own presence. Have you ever noticed how some people can deliver, like, tough feedback?
Yeah.
Or even apologies in a way that doesn't feel confrontational or awkward?
Yeah, it's like they can be really direct, but also respectful at the same time.
Hmm.
How do they do that?
Well, the book actually dives into that, and it really comes down to applying these same principles of charisma even in challenging situations.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, in delivering criticism, it's crucial to be mindful of timing and location.
Because no one wants to receive harsh criticism when they're already stressed
Mm-hmm.
or in a public setting where they might feel embarrassed.
Yeah. Exactly. The book suggests delivering criticism as soon as possible after the behavior that you want to change. But it's crucial to choose a time and place where the person can receive it without feeling ambushed or overwhelmed.
So it's about creating that safe space for feedback
Yeah,
where they can actually hear what you're saying.
exactly. Focus on specific behaviors rather than attacking their character.
Hmm.
So, for example, instead of saying you're always late, try saying, I noticed you were late to the last 3 team meetings. Is there anything going on that's preventing you from being on time?
That's so much better.
Yeah.
It addresses the issue without making it feel like a personal attack.
Mm-hmm.
And by framing it as a question, it kind of invites them to share their perspective.
Exactly. It opens up a dialogue and can lead to a more collaborative solution. Now let's talk about apologies.
Doug?
We all make mistakes, but how we apologize can make a big difference in how we're perceived.
Right. So how can we make our apologies more charismatic? Is there like a formula for that?
The book breaks it down into 3 key elements: presence, warmth, and power. Presence means really listening to the other person's concerns without getting defensive.
So even if we don't necessarily agree with their perspective,
Yeah.
it's important to validate their feelings.
Exactly. Warmth is about conveying genuine remorse. It's not just saying the words, I'm sorry. It's showing that you understand the impact of your actions and you truly care about making things right.
So it's about going beyond that kind of surface level
Yeah,
and connecting with them on an emotional level.
absolutely. And power comes through in taking responsibility and outlining a plan to correct the mistake
Yeah.
or prevent it from happening again.
So it's not enough to just say sorry, you have to show them
Yeah,
that you're committed to taking action.
exactly. And all of these principles apply even when we're communicating digitally,
Right.
which is how so many of our interactions happen these days.
Yeah, it can be tricky to convey those same nuances of warmth and connection through a screen.
It can, but remember, creating positive associations, speaking in pictures, delivering high value, these still apply. Even in a short email, you can make someone feel appreciated and respected.
It's about being intentional with our word choice and our tone and our overall message.
For sure. For example, instead of just sending a cold thank you, try something like, I really appreciate your thoughtful feedback. It gave me some great ideas to consider. Thanks again.
Yeah, that's so much more engaging and personal.
Yeah.
It shows that you actually read their feedback and valued it.
Exactly. And when it comes to phone calls, the book suggests answering with a crisp and professional tone, but then once you know who's calling, let your warmth and enthusiasm shine through.
No, I like that. It's like setting a professional tone,
Mm-hmm.
but also making them feel like you're genuinely happy to hear from them.
Absolutely. And always remember to be mindful of the other person's time and attention.
Right.
Just like in a face-to-face conversation, make sure your emails and phone calls are concise and deliver value.
This has been such an amazing deep dive into the world of charisma. We've covered so much ground, from body language and visualization to crafting charismatic speech and navigating difficult conversations.
We've explored how to overcome internal obstacles, project warmth and power, and even make apologies more charismatic.
And it's all about integrating these techniques to become a more confident and compelling communicator.
Mhm.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for communication.
That's awesome.
As we wrap up, I have a challenge for you all. Over the next few days, pay attention to your own body language and the body language of others.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how these subtle cues can shape interactions and influence perceptions.
It's amazing how much we communicate without even realizing it.
And remember, charisma is a skill that can be learned and developed with practice. So keep experimenting, keep refining your approach, and most importantly, keep being your authentic self.
I love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. You've been a fantastic listener.